So we're doing a little bit of a different thing today. Typically, I don't stream on Saturdays, but not Saturday, on Thursday. But I felt the need to talk about something that pissed me off, and we'll just go from there. So this past Saturday, which is why I made the gaffe of saying today was Saturday, I was exposed to an idiot, or rather, someone who portrays themselves as being intelligent, but actually is not very bright. Um, I have made it very clear especially over the period of the last few years, that I like the older Bush, who I think was much more liberal than his son. And I can point to multiple things he did in office that I find distinct from a number of Republicans who have succeeded him, whether that's Republican presidents after the fact or senators. I just my point in saying this stuff is that when I decide to like or dislike a public figure or just any particular individual, I have a tendency to try to get information on that person as to have an opinion that is at least backed by substantive things that that particular individual did. So I, would mention him being one of the few people to actually do something about the environment that wasn't a Democrat. There's a lot of stuff we can go into. Actually taking a stand against Israel. We could actually sit here for a while and discuss those types of things, but this isn't about whether you like his particular tenure or not. The context of the conversation I had with this person on Saturday was that we were speaking, and I don't remember exactly how it got to this point, but they had basically said, in response to a question I asked in reference to the older Bush, because it is generally assumed by people that the perception of him was that he was all right or not anywhere as awful as his son. And their decision was to pretty much blurt out, after I asked their opinion on him, their exact thing they said was, "I don't like the Bushes." Uh, so when you get a comment like that, you can infer the person is referring to both of them. So I asked, what issue do you have with the older one? And they admit that they don't know much about him, to where they can't even name anything they actually know about him that bothered them. And I said to myself, "No, wait a second. Here you are saying you don't like someone who's a public figure who you can actually go and look up any of the information about this person that has been made privy to myself or anyone else that would consider themselves to be aware of what he actually did. And you don't see a problem with not knowing anything about someone that you claim to not like." And then they try to brush it off with this little stupid laugh, uh, as though it's funny to be ignorant or it's comedic to have a position that's not backed by anything at all other than despising someone. And then I actually had mentioned that you have some people who are so lazy, because, like I said, this information is all publicly available. If you want to know anything about him, you can learn it just as easily as you could learn anything about his son. You have people who are lazy enough to basically dislike him because of his son, which again is guilt by association. Oh, you're someone's parent, so I have to hate you as well. And she gave credence to this. She said, "Oh, I can understand why." And so I proceeded to give the example of, if you're dumb enough to go out and, let's say, kill somebody, am I going to go to your mother or your father and go, "Well, you didn't kill someone like your daughter did, but because you're related to your daughter, I hate you. I don't like you." And then somebody asked me why, and I said, "Oh, it's because they're related to this other person." She actually gave credence to that. She said, "I can understand why," in her little stupid voice. I can't understand why anyone would be stupid enough as to have disdain for an individual who they have no actual recollection of doing anything wrong. Being a Bush in politics is sort of a curse. Well, look, it's not even about that. It's just the fact that I've seen people critique him. So when he died, you actually had Secular Talk and a lot of the other progressive commentators basically, pretend like he was the devil incarnate. But at the very least, they're actually talking about substantive things. This is just disliking someone because they're related to someone else that you actually know about. And again, this isn't like some unknown person sitting in Texas. This was a U.S. president that you can learn as much, if not more, about than his son very easily. But this is where we also get to the climax of this conversation, because I've always said that I don't have a problem with a person not knowing something if they make an attempt, even just the smallest one, to try and learn it, right? So I offer to tell this person about him, to basically say, hey, I like him because of A, B, C, and D. Just give some various examples of stuff I know. And as I'm sitting here and I guess trying to initiate that conversation, she is the most absent-minded, airheaded, like human equivalent of a balloon head you've ever seen. Just like it goes in one ear out the other. Well, it just won't say anything almost. When I started doing the documentaries, I didn't do them because I wanted to show how great of an editor I am, or, because I have some wonderful voice that you want to listen to for hours. The point of doing those was that if I thought there was a person or topic that has not been covered the way it should, I would gather the information. So I actually go and research the stuff and then read it to you throughout the course of the video, because I know if I make a Google Doc where I have all the information written down, no one's going to read that. So I thought if it's presented in a visual medium with some kind of charismatic figure, as I've attempted to be, there'd be a higher chance of retention of the overall message, which is to be more informed of what's actually being discussed. But if I'm in a scenario where this person is not going to read the stuff you give them, and they're not going to listen to you while you're reading it, or while whatever you're saying after reading it is stated, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you give them the chance to read the stuff on their own, they refuse. If you try to read it to them, they're not listening. So it's like, what else can you do? Like, it's literally the most forced willingness of ignorance ever. Like, it's the equivalent of someone saying, I don't want to go to school, while having a bunch of people who offer to pay for it, all these different tutors, like just everything at their fingertips to allow them to be capable of doing whatever the thing is, and just refuse and just go, no, 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 no way, no way, absolutely not. No, but this isn't even just about Bush, King, because this like same lazy mentality of like guilt by association because you're related to somebody actually translates to other things as well. Um, there was a clown, a a a, a joke of an individual who said that Barron Trump, who is as some of you are familiar, the youngest child of Trump, he's I think 13, 14, 15, one of those ages, that he was going to be the youngest school shooter. And this person, afterward was reprimanded, apologized, whatever. But the whole reason that they made that really stupid joke that isn't funny at all, and kind of a shame to even be called an attempt at a joke, is because they don't like Barron's dad. So they tried to use his son to go after Trump. They know not Barron's done nothing wrong as far as any of us know. He just happens to be related to a divisive public figure. So he has to bear the brunt of the punishment of being related to that person who has a much more negative reputation. And I don't think stuff like that is right, especially if the son isn't a public figure. See, I said that a lot of the criticisms that are levied toward Ivanka, Trump Jr., what's the other one, Eric? Those are all people who are trying to, I don't want to say get off on their father's name, but they're public figures. They're people who actually do things relating to Trump's White House. Barron's just a little kid. He's just the son who we see in a couple of pictures a year, and they went after him. They've made stupid jokes about him. But it's all part of a pattern. We have to take a cheap shot at someone that's done nothing to us because we have a problem with whoever the hell they're related to. No, it really is a lose-lose situation with a lot of these people because do I have to make a documentary on every person that ever lived, like for anyone to even try to learn this stuff? It's an example that can highlight the issue of being guilty because of your predecessors or ancestors. Yeah, and it's like it goes both ways because I've seen people who, like for example, on Twitter, Doug Jones is the junior senator from Alabama. I don't like him because of his voting record. There's a lot of stuff we can get into there, but his dad died. I believe that was back in December, and I saw people on there celebrating, going, "Yay, ha ha ha!" ha." And they're not happy that his at the news of his dad's death because they have a personal problem with the elder Jones. They just want to use him to attack his son, who is an incumbent senator and probably going to lose his seat at the end of this year. But that's a story for a different day. No, Ruben, it was a clown I was talking to who said she didn't like the Bushes and then admitted right after saying that she didn't even know anything about the older one. Then when I tried to tell her things about the older one, goes in one ear, out the other. And I was mentioning the fact that if you send this prick a book, they're not going to read it. If you send them some news articles, they're not going to read it. But then if you try to explain this stuff to them, they don't even retain it or they don't even pay attention. So it's like, and these are the people who are supposed to be informed. Like, remember what progressives and liberals say about conservatives. Oh, they don't know anything. They get their information from Fox News. But then you're acting the exact same way. You're choosing to ignore fact-based information that I can source just so you can keep up your little BS hatred of a man you don't even know anything about. Hey, Ruben, we know the only time somebody actually got mad at me for liking a U.S. president was a certain friend of yours and his 17 comment rage over Johnson. I can't understand why a socialist or a social democrat would like the president who did the most on domestic policy in the last 50 years. No idea why that would be the case. So that's why I can't be like just speak to a lot of these libertarians because we'll agree on some foreign policy issues, but when you get to the domestic stuff, they start losing their minds. And like I said, I can tolerate a lot of alternate views, but I don't need to have someone write a novel because they don't like that I like someone. It's not necessary. Nowadays, it's either being handed all the info or people willing to search for it themselves. It separates the knowledgeable from the ignorant. Yeah, I like when I was doing the Schumer documentary, which I'm going to try to put the first part of that out this upcoming week. Um, I was doing it because it's going to be three parts at least. The first part's about his tenure in the House. I had to go to house.gov and look up their votes and then go through each session of Congress and pick out what they determined to be major legislation and then go look at the stuff that he has co-sponsored on his website. So my point is there's a lot of stuff with digging that you have to do for certain people. And I don't appreciate doing all of that just for me to make the video and then for someone to not watch it and then go, I don't know much about Schumer before he became a senator. Well, dingbat, you could watch the video and find out. Like, that's my point, that this stuff is put in these people's hands and they choose to do nothing with it. Like, I'm seriously asking, do I have to make a documentary on every senator and every president and every, like, where does it stop? When do people look this stuff up on them by themselves? It's literal willful ignorance. She has a computer just like me. She clearly has access to all of the same websites because of when we've spoken. She's also been on some of them. So, if she doesn't know about these people, it's on her. I just don't get how you claim to be into politics and then you don't even know anything about one of the more recent presidents out of the last five. That's crazy as hell, but whatever. People say one thing, do the other. It is being handed all the info. I agree with what Roman said. Cheney supports Trump for re-election because of Genie Energy, and I'm bringing this up to remind people that regardless of the resistance reaching out to Bush people, the Bush people themselves are not opposed to Trump, with the exception of some members. Yeah, I think it's pretty much just Bush himself, and then maybe what, like two or three cabinet members. No, there are a lot more. And I already told you, man, that we knew that it was a bunch of nonsense, like this feud between the Bush people and the Trump people, because a lot of them have like Elaine Chao and Bolton. They showed up in Trump's cabinet, so it's a joke to think there's actually like some intra-party rebellion going on. No, it's all getting in line. Hell, I was going to do a video on AOC that she endorsed a certain rapist presidential candidate, but I'll try to see if I can put that up tomorrow because I want to include that little stupid "sexual assault is not a crime" speech that she gave. Hey, we're gonna find out King's son, I don't know, robbed a bank. Well, King, even though you didn't do anything wrong, your son did that, so I don't like you. Even though we know nothing about you that is in any way off-putting, because you had a kid that did something wrong. Hey, sorry, gotta walk the plank. Yeah, Stone is just kind of he just likes Republicans. You saw his Nixon tattoo, that big old tattoo on his back. Oh no, Roman King is one of the your fellow commenter who left a comment a short time ago. No, apparently Stone has a whole office with a bunch of Nixon memorabilia. I think somebody actually posted some pictures of it online. That was his boy. But Ruben, do you think I have to like what is the solution here? Because you've got someone who admits they're ignorant about something and then makes no attempt to learn about it. And then when you try to give the information to them, they ignore you. So what else can you do other than just accept that they're ignorant and I guess try to ignore them from now on? Because I guess I'm tired of having these conversations with these people where they try to claim I am what's the word for it? Not accepting of others' viewpoints. And I said, look, I'm very tolerant of that, of perspectives that are not the same as my own. I would just like for the people I speak to not be ignorant, like to just if they don't know something, don't try to like when you say you don't like someone, you are effectively taking a position on them that we would presume is based off of what you know about them. So to say you don't like them and then right after say you don't know anything about them, it's like what sense does that make? It's a really strange phenomenon. Who else has that kind of thing? I mean, like with Hunter Biden, for example, I don't really have an issue with him other than I think he did use his, dad's position to get on that Ukraine board, but I wouldn't say I dislike him. I definitely didn't dislike Bo. Ignoring the ignorance saves you from wasting valuable time and attention. Yeah, seriously, man. So I say I don't get these people that try to talk to these chicks because, like, how can you even have conversations with them when they say stuff like that? There really is nothing. I'm always dealing with those same people too, and they always reach out to me when it's a topic that they already agree with me. I know, but I really thought when I got off of Twitter, and I do still use it, but as you've seen, only to thumb up other people's stuff, that I would effectively evade these kind of dialogues because I don't want to speak to individuals who um, refuse to learn new stuff and then try to pretend like they already know it. And then when you actually speak to them, it's just like it's just stupidity, man. God, it's such a crime. I'm a now dislike Roman because his sister did something. I don't know what she did, but I don't like him because of what she did. I don't like the hey Ruben, wasn't your last name Garcia? I don't like the Garcias because Ruben called me a name on Twitter. The problem is that those idiots have a life outside of Twitter as well to spread their idiocy on. Yeah, that's my point that it just translates from one thing to another. That's why when people say, "Oh, it's just politics, just have a difference of opinion," it's like, no, man, we're talking about people who openly don't know something, are making no attempt to learn it, and then when you offer to teach it to them, they ignore you, and we're supposed to be all right with that. You're too lazy to look it up yourself. Then when it's right under your nose, I'm good. She actually even say that. She just was just so absent-minded. She should get a award for being that distant in a conversation. I'm telling you, I need to execute some new policy on like not having phone calls with chicks anymore because they have like just this really comedic way of making me regret it after I speak to them. Like I had a one night stand or something. Because just the stuff they say is so dumb. Garcia is one of the most common Spanish last names, one of the most common last names in general. So that's a lot of people for you to hate. Well, remember, Ruben, she said, "I hate the Bushes." So maybe he was talking. She was talking about the wives and the kids too, and because I know the younger Bush has like what four siblings, technically five. So there's a lot of people she had an issue with. She's beefing with Jeb. Well, I guess that would be legitimate because of he was governor of Florida, but she's beefing with Marvin and Neil. Oh my god, what the hell is wrong with these clowns? Oh, I was going to ask you, Ruben, would you be interested in a? I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but after doing the first part for the Schumer one, I was thinking of doing one on Newsom because I don't think a lot of people know much about him. Like he's now the most popular governor. She hates actual Bushes. Well, remember when I said that there were stupid people who dislike the older one just because he's the dad of the younger one. She was like, I can understand why. So she knew who I was talking about. Hey, she hates bushes like Anakin hates sand. But no, Ruben, would you want to see like a video on Newsom before he became governor? Because I remember I was around when he was San Francisco mayor, not in that city, but he was a bit like the one thing I'll always give him credit for was he was one of the few Democrats that actually came out for gay marriage hard before Obama switched. Because he was like when they had the proposition over here. Yeah, he's apparently now he's the most popular governor in the U.S. So he's been making the rounds. Oh, Kumo is man. I'll definitely have to cover him eventually. And he wants to run for a fourth term for governor. Just I may be against term limits, but that's one person that needs to be out. New York's longest running governor is a neoliberal. Um, I mean, he didn't get recalled. You know what? Now you're reminding me of Gray Davis. That was the governor that got recalled, and that's how, if I remember correctly, that's how Schwarzenegger got in office. No, he's I think better than like I don't know if that comparison's really accurate. And that would be funny if he runs for president, his campaign ends up like Walker's. Walker had the most quickest fall I've ever seen of a presidential candidate. That dude went from polling in second and third place to all the way at the like that just meteoric downfall. It was perfect. Thank you, Trump, for that one. He got completely demolished. I'm beefing with all the Garcias. I got a problem with Ruben's dad and his mother, and I don't know if Ruben has any siblings, but if he does, I don't like them either. And then somebody's gonna say, "You hate this whole." There are some people that hate all the Garcias because of Ruben. I can understand why. I think I actually did mention I like. I don't like Kumo, but I like his dad Mario because he was more liberal, or he was kind of like from the era where even a lot of the Democrats that made it were actually trying to do stuff. So I'd be like, I don't like Mario. Why? Because Andrew is evil. I've just never seen that before where you have a problem with someone and they don't even care about learning anything about that person. Like I even made the point of mentioning yeah, the dad was good. Same thing with like I don't like Jerry Brown because he was just another part of the neoliberal brand where I can get into him on a later date, but I did like his dad. I even said his dad was the last California governor I actually liked. Like after Pat Brown, it just drops. So that's three dads where they have sons I don't like, but because one of them was a president, then people like to more people remember that one. This can be applied to race relations, but another topic for another time. Well, you could write what you mean by that because I think I might know, but I want you. I would like if you would clarify. That'd be pretty entertaining. No, even Jimmy actually had mentioned that he liked that the father was better. But again, he doesn't. I don't think he's really that aware of him, so it's kind of just a recollection thing versus knowing entirely. Teddy Roosevelt's grandson was one of the CIA agents from Op Age. Yeah, I know the Roosevelt. So not. I always have to make this distinction: not the Roosevelts that are descended from FDR, but the ones from TR. Ugh, I have been active in politics. So I'll give them credit for that. And you do have people who actually try to mess with. I've actually never seen this blaming others for their relation to someone. Yeah, that yeah. I now I know what you're referring to. Um, there are people who actually are trying to mess with Fred Trump. So Trump's dead, dead. But like, it's the stupidest thing in the world. They had a TV show that apparently portrayed the older Trump as a member of the Klan, and then they've been trying to claim that he was a member of that, and because he was arrested. I think it was 1918 for being at some rally or something, and then they asked his son when he was running for president about it, and he was like, "I don't even remember." And I was just thinking to myself, you guys are so hell bent on making this man seem like Satan that you're going to ask him about his dad's arrest from 97 years ago. So what the hell is wrong with you? How would he know about that? Like, whatever. That's just another example, but that's like the inverse where they're trying to mess with the son through his dad. Oh no, they love messing with whites over that. Your great great grandfather was a slave owner. Maybe he was. It wasn't me. Sorry. People will find a way to have an issue with you over stuff that, I mean, Jesus Christ. But again, it's different for a lot of like the ones I was mentioning, they're all public figures, so you can find information about these people. I haven't heard that word in a long time, Ruben. You can find information about these people and you can have a legitimate issue with them that is separate from them being related to someone else. Like I wouldn't hate Elaine Cho just because she's the wife of McConnell. It's weird, man. I got a message from Sergey at Hotmail waiting for man. It's some I hate those that automated spam trash they send my phone. Hey Ruben, I'm gonna end up having to make a documentary on every president so people can actually know who the hell we're talking about. God, I don't even want to think about doing one on FDR. That thing's gonna have to be like 5 or 6 parts. We're gonna have to do one for each term. Then when he was governor of New York and his early life and whatnot. Oh, I definitely want to do one on Bernie's campaign. Remember the one I did for O'Rourke? I don't know if you recall. That thing could be 2 or 3 hours by itself. I might put that up in parts, maybe, just for it to be compressed easier on my computer. Because it's definitely worth including a lot of the stuff that was there. Again, I don't want because the other thing with making those is I don't want people to like when I did how to explain this. I want to capture the fact that you're going to have people who claim Sanders did all these different things wrong, and they're not going to mention that little 72-hour period, which I'll never forget it, where Buddha Trash and the Snow Woman got out and endorsed Biden. Okay, it's cosplay communists that love hating every US president without even knowing anything about them. You know what? That's true because Jennifer from Twitter. You've retweeted some of the stuff she's put up. She actually put up something praising Carter, and I was talking to her in one time, and she had said that someone had sent her a message about something he did that was so horrible, and I was like, man, don't believe that trash. Get the hell out of here. And then she couldn't even like tell me what it was. But that's my point that if it was so bad, how does no one remember it? Like everybody remembers Iraq. So under the younger Bush, it's like if it was so bad, why is only this one person aware of it? That's what I'm saying. They have a just no matter who it is. Yeah, that's a good point, Ruben. He's the one defending Venezuela, and they hate him anyway. That's why you can't take any of these people seriously. They have a problem with everybody. I remember there was this one person who was talking about C-SPAN's liberal bias, and I was laughing. Like I almost peed on myself laughing at that comment because on C-SPAN all they do is answer the phone. Like it is the most neutral place for news about politics I have ever seen. Like there's none of the people on there give any commentary about I feel this none of that. C-SPAN's liberal bias. Man, get the hell out of here. The only time you ever see anybody on C-SPAN push back on something is when someone calls in and says something crazy. Like there was this one person who called in talking about Trump should be, put to a certain faith that is not life, fate that is not life, and they cut them off and said we can't say that on here. Other than that, they'll let you say whatever you want, pretty much. People calling Sanders a communist and Pelosi a terrorist and a socialist and a Bolshevik and all this stuff. Speaking of Pelosi, let me see what was her dad's name. I gotta go look it up because I know she's also on the chopping block to get discussed. Let's see. Make it really hard to find this. Oh, it was D. Alessandro Jr. The mayor of Baltimore. Yeah, I got a problem with Pelosi's dad. Even though I know nothing about the man, I have no idea if he was a good mayor or whatever. But because he's the dad of a politician I don't like, I hate him. Um, that's the one that has the beard, right, with like the hair tied back. I saw him speak on Ron Placone's channel. He seemed like he was pretty smart. Although again, I don't think he's gonna win because well, you can figure out why. They love to have like the communist thing going on in some of these districts, 80% support. Oh yeah, somebody actually sent me a clip of well, not somebody sent me. I found it where Cenk said on the post game that he wouldn't run for office again. It's like, damn it. So that's basically him admitting that him running was a experiment, just kind of like a publicity stunt, basically, which is really annoying because I would not run for anything unless I thought I had at least a small chance of winning if I did things correctly or in a way that I thought was most effective. So that sucks. Cosplay communist. Oh, what else was I gonna say? Oh, have you noticed, Ruben, that one of the things that progressives love to do? So, like, I expect the Democrats to hate every Republican, but the progressives are supposed to be the ones who actually claim to know more things than, like your regular liberal. And then they'll hate Republicans like Collins or Murkowski, who have pretty good votes on the environment, great votes on foreign policy. And then they'll be like, they're all the same because they voted to acquit Trump of impeachment or for one of his Supreme Court nominees. Have you noticed that where they treat them basically the same way that they would treat any other Republican, no matter how many votes they have that are distinct? What do you think of Turner, Sirota, and the Breed chick running around telling everyone that they were real radicals in Bernie's campaign and they lost because Bernie held everyone back? Well, look, I know that Joy Gray said she wasn't going to vote for Biden or wasn't going to support him. I'm glad. It's a little too, it's too little, too late. However, I don't know why people have been trying to make it to where they want Turner to run for president, which sounds crazy as hell because we don't even know anything of it. Whatever. I'll let them do what they want. And Sirota, he's doing the same thing where he just is now coming out and going, "I was so radical, they had me muzzled." Oh, Ruben, that's my favorite thing where you'll have Anna from TY to be like, "I don't agree with Justin Marsh on pretty much anything." I'm like, but you're anti-war and so is he. That should be half, I would think. They hate Rand Paul but love Massey even though they have the same position. You're just asking a question that like, do they hate them? It's like, yes. Does it make sense? No. I told you that Kyle just now after the vote for coronavirus, he just found out who Massey was. He just now found. I was like, that is so pathetic. Like one of the like, how do you not know who that is? He was one of the few Republicans to back getting out of Yemen. He was the only one that didn't vote either way on the Iran deal. Like he's had so many distinct votes. He was the only Republican that voted in favor of the bill that was what's the word for it, that doesn't condemn anti BDS sentiment. So like it's the bill that basically is saying the U.S. shouldn't protest people who practice BDS. The only one, and he's like, I don't know who the Massey, I think. It's like if we were to rank all the House Republicans that progressives should know, he should be in the top 10. Like just pathetic. But again, I got a video on Kyle coming anyway. He did something 2 years ago that it was pretty awful. So it's all good. Like I said, I'm not I am a fan of some of these people, but when they say some stupid stuff, it should be rebuked. No, he hasn't found out about that one either. They've been keeping that under the bus. He did his regular upload schedule this week, and he's made 3 videos about Chomsky in less than a week, like 5 days apart. And I think it's weird because it's all clips from pretty much the same interview. I'm like, what the hell? Why do we need to keep? We get it. He's telling people to vote for Biden. Okay, we understand. I don't like Kyle. I know his dad is deceased, but and his dad never did anything to me, but I hate his dad too. That's her logic. And no, I don't actually have an issue with Kyle's dad. I do feel bad that he lost his father, especially under the. He doesn't usually talk about his personal life, but he did a segment a while back where he was talking about that and him not having access to healthcare. It's a really sad story. Jimmy's dad is 90, and he's I think a Biden supporter. He voted for Biden. Actually, went out in the virus's storm in Illinois and voted for him. So he could have endangered people. I don't like him. I'm not voting for Biden either, but everyone is making huge drama about it online, like drama queens. Yeah, I've never seen people get so mad because you don't want to vote for somebody. Like there were a whole bunch of people doing, saying they're not going to vote. They weren't going to vote for Sanders. I didn't sit over there going, uh, "You are helping Trump." It's just. And I told you it's funny because they were pledging that they wouldn't support Sanders in the general election, and they were telling basically it's just ironic because they were saying that if you don't support the Democrat, you're going to help Trump, but then when the Democrat looked like it might have been someone you didn't like, you didn't care about helping Trump under your own definition. Well, I don't like Hillary, so I don't like Hugh. That's her dad's name. He actually was a Republican. Is the funny part. Just I'm so done with these people. Like the ignorance I have seen over the period of the last maybe 3 years has been really amazing. I don't really want to have conversations anymore with people because it's like you sit here with them and you try to be informed of this stuff and they just ugh. Have you come across a Matt Stoller interview yet? He is an interesting guy. I've heard the name before, but I don't know if I've actually seen anything with them. Could the nation get worse with former years of Trump, and could there possibly be another candidate like Bernie in the near future? I think during his second term, he's gonna if Trump gets a second term, he's gonna have to ratify the START treaty, which is the one between the U.S. and Russia. And since he pulled out of the INF treaty, there's a good chance that he might not ratify that one, which is just one more step toward nuclear war. The environment already is bad, so I don't really know how it can get worse. Like I said, if Democrats were smart, they would get the House and the Senate back, and then they would block all of Trump's decisions and reverse them. But they're stupid, so that won't happen. Uh, a candidate like Sanders, well, that's the thing that it's like I keep hearing about AOC's gonna win. AOC's gonna win. Never seen a freshman congressperson ever get this hyped up for no goddamn reason. She got this massive Wikipedia page. The Hill is quoting her every word. Like I'm so sick of her. That's why I haven't done a video on her in I think maybe 4 months. Let me see. It's been a while. I've been steering clear of every story with her name on it. Well, that's my thing. Like, I can't take the progressive movement seriously because the only time they get excited for anybody is if it's a presidential election. Like right now, one of their lead guys, Ed Markey, who was the co-creator of the new version of the Green New Deal with AOC, he's going to lose his Senate seat to a neoliberal in the House, and they're not uh, fundraising or donating to him or anything. They don't care because as long as it's not Sanders, they pretty much forget about you. Sanders and AOC, if you're not one of those two, it's just a really pathetic group. No, you can tell it's a big scam because if they have the Senate and the House and they have a majority, maybe like 50, 60 seats. I'm not going to go to supermajority, but they can do a lot of important things with that. I just remember the Mosh is very hated by the right wing because he supported impeachment. Even the right wing people that supposedly hate Trump hate Amash anyway for supporting that. Yeah, they're mad that he actually had a bit of a spine. But I told you that this is why a lot of these votes you can't win for either way. You have people who are claiming that Doug Jones has sealed his fate because he voted to impeach Trump. But the Republicans in Alabama, before he voted that way, were already going to vote for the Republican that runs against them. So, like what? You get the point that they're trying to make that the narrative when it's really not the case. Like it doesn't matter. We can go down the list. They were saying Murkowski's going to get primaried by Palin because she voted against Kavanaugh, but then she got primaried before that in her reelection bid from what was that 2016. So it doesn't really matter as much as they're trying to pretend that it does. People don't want to read anymore at all. Doug Jones basically just let the Alabama Republicans get rid of abortion with no pushback, and the resistance never brings this up because he's on their team. As long as you're on their team, unless the only time that they betray their team is if you get accused of a sexual assault, and then they only really get mad at that if you're not a presidential candidate. I told you in that primary field, the only two people with allegations against them were Biden and Bloomberg, and we just had to pick one of the ones with the allegations. I'm beefing with all the Garcias. I don't like the Garcias. Why? Because I don't like Ruben. And Bloomberg was polling high too, even if they're dropping out because of all those ads. Like for every one person that heard of Yang through the internet, there's another 1,000 that heard of Bloomberg through seeing his ad on TV every 10 seconds. No, I'm finished. Bloomberg was polling high too, and not anymore. I wish I could just do a video where it's like all of the stupid things that chicks do, just compiled like a list, like symptoms of an idiot or something. Because the only reason they even speak to a lot of these guys is because they're bored. It was the same thing with that one. They only talk because they're bored. And they get real bored when you push back on something they're saying. You hate a man because of who his son is. And then when someone tries to tell you about the man himself, hey, Ruben, did you like the thumbnail? I don't usually make custom thumbnails ever. It might be like the third or fourth one I've done. I'm just waiting for your opinion. I can't wait to hear it. No, the documentaries are they really are like the biggest task ever because when you write out the script, you got to get the clips. Then you have to record, at least for me anyway, my commentary over it where I give my opinion on what's being displayed. And then you have to edit it. And then you get like 10 views. And then you have idiots walking around. I don't know anything about Shift. Oh, it's not like there's a whole video about him. I mean, at least it's not clickbait. I actually did talk about what was in it. It's an okay thumbnail. Like, I don't like you. Why? Because of who your son is. This is very irrelevant. I'm not even going to look at Roman's comment. I'm just messing with him. What do you think the decision of lifting the quarantine protocol in certain states happened too soon? Or is this leading to the right direction toward getting everything back in order? Uh, I think it's really stupid because anytime you've got doctors, people who actually know about health and medicine, and they're advising you, hey, it's too early, keep the stuff closed, you're an idiot for not listening to them. There is no reason to not trust their judgment over your own. I don't care how many elections you've won, what your gut is telling you, just it's being an idiot. But like in Georgia, for example, where Kemp is opening things back up, he just wants the economy to go back to normal. And we actually discussed how with I think it was the 1918 flu pandemic, the places that opened back earlier get short term benefits, but in the long term have much more issues because the people are exposed to it at higher rates. So I think it's a dumb decision. It's so dumb that even Trump is saying, hey, it's not the right idea. And the people of that state are unfortunately going to have to pay for it, possibly with their lives. Oh, you know what? Who's Kemp's parents? Let me see if I can find if they have their name on there. I'm gonna have an issue with them too. Or his dad's name was William. So I got a problem with Will. Even though Will did nothing wrong, he's not the one that's governor. Yeah, he was. Trump has had like the worst role ever in this. First, you deny that it's even that big of a deal, and you claim that tests are all over the place. I'm just saying he came out and said that it was dumb or that it was the wrong decision. So how about the issue with covering expenses? Because regardless of keeping everyone safe, debts are expected to be paid. Nothing's free after all. Well, that's why a lot of us don't like that Corona bill because they give you 1,200 and then you have to pay off 3 months of rent. So a lot of foreclosures are going to take place. That's why Massey said it was the cheese in the trap. They gave you the cheese of the $1,000, and then the trap is the 3 months that are going to come pouring down on you like a hurricane. So I don't understand why people are more pissed off about that bill. But people don't pay attention to politics unless it affects them usually. So they're just being their good old selfish selves. Also, if you can hear it outside, I apologize because people do all kind of weird stuff during the day. So that noise is I can't really do much about it. It wasn't happening when I started. And that stream I did, United States of Scams, it just becomes more and more true. It's like every day. We're really gonna have people kicked out of their homes in like record numbers and no one cares. Like no one's like the only person I've seen talking about it out of the progressive commentators is Door. Okay, left wing people are mad at Bernie because of the bailout, but are praising Trump because they think it will make Biden look bad, even though Trump supported the bailout too. Yeah, that's why there are no heroes in this except Massey, because all the whole group of people made the same mistake. But you know how that is, Ruben. They pick and choose who they're going to get upset with. Like remember with the BDS bill. Oh my God, Roe and Tulsi and Presley didn't vote for it, and they're supposed to be progressives. Oh well, Tulsi's running for president, and Presley's part of the squad with AOC. Let's go after Roe. They pick who to get upset with and who to brush under the rug for, which is really stupid, by the way, because I would hope that people like consistency, but I guess not. Just like I would hope that if someone is saying they don't know something about a pretty recent U.S. president, and then someone tries to explain to them who that person was, they would listen. But hey, I guess they don't make people like that anymore. Ones that want to get informed and know what they're talking about. Those don't exist at this point. Or if they do, they're like a small minority. I think someone actually made the case that a lot of Bush's cabinet actually is more relevant now. Like Barr, was his attorney general. Now it's Trump's attorney general. Um, his what was that? I think that was his health secretary. Alexander is a senator from Tennessee, and we all know Cheney. That was his defense secretary. So there's a lot of important people that were came up under his tenure, whether you like them or not. Well, it just makes her decision to not know anything about that man all the more dumb. Yeah, left wing people are just the biggest hypocrites in the world, man. Like they always say the Republicans are hypocrites. Like, no, you guys are hypocrites because you're supposed to know better. You're supposed to be the ones that do research and actually know these people, and you're just as hypocritical, as ignorant, as uh, cultish. All of those words. I told you when Dore was criticizing Sanders before the primary ended, before he got out of the campaign. All these people would say, Doris hurting Sanders, he's insulting him, and blah, 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 blah. And now that Sanders is out, what's the new popular thing for everybody to do? Insult him. You remember that, Ruben, where a certain channel with a couple tens of thousands subs was like, Doris hurting Sanders by criticizing him. And now that same person, along with a bunch of other progressive commentators, are doing that. I think you remember. Look at Bios and wrote both Bushes are great. I love them. Again, I'll take the older one. The younger one you can throw in the trash, along with Obama and Trump and Clinton. Bernie bashing is the new money maker on YouTube. Well, Ruben, remember my first video this year was the one where it's Sanders with the devil horns holding the picture of Johnson. And remember, you're supposed to I guess it kind of technically is clickbait because you're supposed like the impression is I'm disturbed by Sanders praising LBJ, and then in the video I'm like, no, that was actually pretty accurate. What both Bushes? There are several of them. He's probably talking about the presidents. Oh my God, what is wrong with these damn people? I swear. Jesus Christ, that lawnmower. Okay, Biosin is just trolling. Ignore him, Ruben. He's just writing some crazy stuff. It's so loud. Jesus Christ. You guys should search up Brazilian President Bolsonaro. What about him? We already know who he is. Bernie Bastion is the new money maker. I'm just picturing like every time a progressive starts trashing them, they just see dollar signs. That's how they get their new coins. Also, Bias, if you could be so kind as to write your parents' first names, I can beef with them too and not like them either. I think so too. I forgot his name though. It's kind of funny you mention that because a certain commentator, I will not say the name of, claims that David Duell, who is the guy that he does, what's that show called? Um, I'm forgetting what his show's name is. I know it's not Humanist Report. That's somebody else. Oh, Rational National. Uh, it's been claimed by a certain commentator that he is the nephew of Justin Trudeau, which is just the the dumbest whatever. And he actually said it seriously too. So, but look, my audience is rapidly disappearing. People are fleeing to go back to their, I guess, bomb shelters because this pandemic is everyone losing their minds. So, thank you for showing up. And remember, if you have an issue with a public figure, make sure to dislike their parents who you don't even know anything about. per your own admission. Bye.